Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to try to keep this intro short and sweet because there's a lot to get into. The theme this month is Mark Rothko, and if you don't know who he is, you've probably seen his stuff. He's typically identified as like a minimalist and abstract expressionist painter, and is best known for these just like huge fields of color block paintings. But we'll get into that a little bit later. We are also celebrating 200 subscribers. You guys, I am super excited about this and just how the channel has been growing in the last couple of months. So thank you, thank you. I'm actually gonna be doing a fun giveaway this month, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna be trying some new things with this setup, so fingers crossed and let's get to it. So first up, I'm recreating a Rothko piece on some watercolor paper using whatever I can get my hands on, really. I'm probably the most messy painter on the face of the earth, but Rothko is all about risk, so I thought, why not? I've wet down the paper with a base layer of water before going in with a base watercolor layer. I'm using my hairdryer to dry that layer because I have no patience with this, before going in with red on top. The first layer on top is going to be watercolor and then acrylic on top of that, just because it's more pigmented and gives me more texture. I'm also trying to encourage more blur and more texture by dotting this with a dry paper towel. For Rothko, these sort of blurred color blocks possess sort of their own life force. There's meaning in these voids of color, even when there's nothing recognizable. No landscapes, no figures, and I don't know, I think that's powerful. Something seemingly so simple that has all of this extra meaning. So for the second layer of the pink down there, I went in with the acrylograph ink just to see what it would do, and yeah, it held up pretty well. The yellow is acrylic as well, and having a drier brush gives that visual stroke that's pretty cool and makes it more of that Rothko vibe. I'm building up the black with watercolor first and then acrylic on top of that. The white block is acrylic as well, but I've mixed it with some retarder, which is usually used to slow down acrylic drying time, but it also sort of gives that transparent look. You can also get the same feel with matte medium. I decided to do a quick copy on my scanner and print this out on a thinner cream paper I have, not only to mute down the color a bit, but also to have it be thinner inside of my journal. I think had I just pasted this in, it would be a bit too bulky for my liking. And I didn't want to paint all of this directly into my journal because I don't believe this particular paper would handle all of the layers of paint and water. The lettering this month is really raw and minimal, which relates back to the theme. I wanted all the lettering to look, I don't know, natural, scribbled maybe. It just gave me that artist vibe, and I was definitely into it. For this quote page, I'm coloring in a nice sized rectangle with the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens and just section by section. But the quote is a Rothko quote, and its silence is so accurate, which is pretty deep. I took it as silence is sort of a telling stance. I'm not sure if that's what he means here, but I thought my understanding of it was relevant for the quote page. The lettering is just sort of my natural handwriting in the most scribbled but legible way possible. And to finish this spread off, I'm going to go over all the edges with black acrylic and finally watercolor to give it some of that painterly texture. Moving along to the monthly spread, I'm doing my usual split calendar with a light gray drop shadow. I didn't have a plan going into this monthly spread, and it will definitely show here in a little bit. I am going to do these headers in a light gray Tombow as well, and then go over that with some paint, that same painterly look. But yeah, I'll come back to this in just a sec once I figure out what I'm doing. So over on the side here, I'm going to be creating another Rothko piece using the acrylograph pens. I wanted the bottom layer to be pretty opaque and solid, and then the layers on top of that will be more see-through, a lot like the paintings. I'm bringing back goals, y'all. I don't want to say I gave up completely on goal setting this year, but I definitely took a break from writing them down since everything has just been so uncertain, and I think I'm ready to reintroduce this back into my journal. So I'm creating a YouTube growth tracker and a place to write down 3 goals for the month. Here things start getting a little hairy, in my opinion, for the spread. I didn't let the paint dry long enough and my hands started smearing it. Told you, no patience. And for some reason I decided to do these squares for the numbers. I ended up having to do a few layers of this and still wasn't quite happy with how it turned out. So I entered panic mode and started adding things. First up, craft paper. Though I must admit I'm pretty happy with this addition. So yeah, tearing up a sheet of craft paper and gluing it down along the bottom and a little bit along the top here. But that's not all, folks. I'm going to add a couple of strokes of paint, which later I thought looked like blood, which was totally not the vibe. I'll move this up in just a second, but I went for another quote along the bottom that says, "Art is an adventure to an unknown world, which can be explored only by those willing to take risks," which I think made me feel better while doing this, to be honest, especially at this point where I was literally hating all of my decisions. But that's the spread. Okay, from here on out, I was fully committed to a more minimal looking spread as far as color goes because that monthly spread had enough going on all on its own. So I'm working on my mood tracker and I'm calling it my mood and habit gallery this month, so it's a bit more on theme. I feel like I have to explain this feet thing real quick that's going in my habit gallery because it would just be weird if not. I take ballet and I've been on point for maybe a year and a half or so, and I'm marking the days I do strengthening exercises for my ankles and feet. So that's what the feet is about. And sort of new this month, sort of not, I'm expanding my usual box a day page to daily logs so I can write in or doodle something that happened or how I'm feeling. This is sort of promoting a bit more long form journaling without getting too intense. It's actually going to span over 2 pages, and along the bottom on craft paper, I'm going to do some monochromatic Rothko inspired decoration. With these, I'm using a really loose hand and making some areas more solid and others more transparent. Some areas will have a wetter brush and others will have that more dry brush look, just to give it a bit more variety and interest here. I'm keeping the mill log in this month. It worked really well for me last month. I kept up with it, and I think it's going to be a helpful reference going forward. It's a really easy grid to set up, and I'm just going to dress it up a bit with some of those quick paint strokes along the bottom. Another quick and easy spread I'm bringing over from last month is the privacy note spread. I'm actually going to use a small painting I made before filming. I was just having some fun and seeing what I could do with the theme and wasn't planning on using any of these test pieces, but this one I did on blue cardstock was just too cute, so I'm including it here with a border and some craft paper. The last spread I'm setting up this month is the first weekly spread. My idea for the weekly spreads was to start off more colorful and week by week sort of progress into a more darker palette, since Rothko sort of did that in his career, but we'll see. I don't plan too far ahead for the weeklies because it's part of the fun for me to come up with those a little closer to when I actually need them. But I have been doing weekly streams on Twitch if you want to come and hang out and participate in these weekly spreads coming together. The link for that will be down in the description, along with my Instagram and some of the supplies I'm using in this setup. So I'm doing my usual rolling weekly setup because it ain't broke, so we're staying with it. I'm also going to create a Rothko piece with red and blue cardstock and then paint in the other portion of the painting, just for a variety of texture here, and I really like how this came out. And y'all, I made stickers for the rolling task list. Please give me a pat on the back, because if you've watched any of my other setups, then you know I am not in love with making this grid happen. So this was a huge relief. It does take me a hot minute to get everything lined up, but not nearly as long or as tedious as drawing all of this out. While I was at it, I also made some checkbox stickers, which is just extra, to be honest. It does look a bit more uniformed and clean at the end of the week, but 100% not necessary. For the final touches, I'm going in with the smallest flat brush I have and adding in some blue acrylic, since the name of the game this month is texture. And that's going to do it for the weekly spread and for this Rothko monthly theme. So before we get into the final flip through, let's talk giveaway. The winner will get this sticker pack of designs straight out of the setup and a few extras. All of the details on how to enter will be down in the description. So I also want to thank all of you guys just for watching and supporting the channel this far. It's been super fun. Let me know what theme you guys want to see next for October down in the comments. And be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so you know when the next one goes up. But I think that's enough chit chat for this one. Let's get into that flip through, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And if you like this video, here are a couple more I think you would enjoy.